Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
Today we are talking all about Southern Charm episodes 3 and 4, but first we have to talk about the Craig and Paige breakup. We have gotten more information. Craig has broken his silence, and apparently he was very shocked about said breakup, so we got to get into it. And then we'll talk about all of the craziness that's happening with the boys and their weird relationships, and we're angry at Craig, but we miss Craig. I don't know, there's a lot of feelings happening.
There's a lot of fighting over Craig happening, it seems like right
Yeah,
now.
it's true.
Yeah, the internet has had a lot of feelings about the Paige and Craig breakup. I'm a little
Truly.
surprised, honestly. I think, especially considering that she was kind of the first one to break the news. I guess I shouldn't have been so surprised that the internet was so pro Craig, but I didn't know the internet was going to be so pro Craig.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the amount of anti-Page conversations going on. She had kind of said her version of what happened, and I thought she was really nice about both of them,
Yeah,
right? Like she wasn't shitting on Craig or anything. She was like, we were just going in different paths, and
direction.
this was kind of like the best thing for us, and it was a mutual
Hmm.
decision. But
Yeah,
then he actually came out and said something, and he kind of added fuel to the fire a little bit by
a
being
little
like,
bit.
yeah, I was really shocked, and it takes two people to be in a relationship, and I can't, you can't control other people. And like, he in not so many words pretty much said that it was Paige's idea. So
Yeah.
now people are like up in arms even more.
Which I guess is kind of like in line with a lot of the comments that we saw like on our last episode. Like a lot of people were saying that like Paige was very much like kind of like leading him on, or he was the one that was kind of like ready to settle down. So I guess if he was like more fully committed to the relationship and like seeing it through and like, doing the whole marriage, babies, moving to get together thing. Um, but yeah, it's been interesting. I am a little surprised. I didn't know how he was going to respond, and to see him kind of like put it out there that like it wasn't like a fully mutual thing, which is a different narrative than what Paige had initially said, because she said it was like super mutual, that they were like
Yeah.
happy for each other, they were mature and whatnot. And I think they're still both being pretty mature about it, honestly.
Yeah.
But then on the most recent episode of the Giggly Squad, she kind of was like, I was very nice, and I was nicer than I needed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. And she also addressed that she's just been getting so much hate
Well, there you
recently.
go. And like
And
totally ridiculous like rumors about like, her and the SNL guy.
her
Like,
with Domingo
yeah, like
from
that's just it. You guys
SNL.
you guys watch one episode of SNL and you think that's real life. That's actually happening.
Yeah.
Domingo's not gonna steal your girl, guys. It's okay.
I was just sad for both of them. Like I truly did feel like they both wanted to be together, and I think ultimately they were just on different paths, and like Paige didn't want to move to Charleston and
Yeah.
Craig didn't want to move to New York, but
Yeah.
I do think it's also fair that now that we're seeing some of these Southern Charm episodes, like you do kind of see, I don't know if it's necessarily Craig being more invested in the relationship than Paige. I think Paige is just not an emotional person. Like I don't
Hmm.
think she shows it in the same way. She's very sarcastic, she's very sassy.
Yeah.
And I think some people could take that as her not being invested. Like I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know if that's what it is, but like I could kind of see some of the conversation that's happening now being like maybe he's a little bit more
In
invested
it.
than she is right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's definitely a very good chance that now that we're seeing all of this play out, knowing how their relationship ultimately ended, we're seeing it through this like different lens, right?
That's
Like
true.
when she is like on the phone with him, like she could be like scrolling Pinterest or something. And so when she responds, yeah, that's a good idea or whatever, like super kind of like, blasé, it's like, oh, she's not invested in the
It's
relationship. She
so
doesn't care
true.
what he
They're
has
going
to
to be like,
say.
"See, he's trying to make his podcast room for her and she doesn't even care." Like,
I don't want to be a part of you and your frog, Craig. Okay, do whatever you want with your frog.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is kind of sad because like also so in the most recent episode of Southern Charm, like they're hosting like a little party together. Like I think it does feel like they kind of both he settled down a little bit to kind of be a little bit more at her speed. And I think she was doing things to be at his speed, and they kind of were trying to like meet each other in the middle of the way, right? Like at the end of the party, she's like, I've done so much socializing. I talked to so many people. And he's like, yeah, you're so amazing. Like, I'm so
Mhm.
proud of you. And like I think that's really nice to get to see. And it just kind of does make you feel, regardless of whether or not you think how you think how you feel about the relationship being over. It's nice to see like a relationship like that, and one of the more functional relationships on Bravo.
It really was. And I think that was shocking to all of us. I don't think anyone saw that coming, especially like the first time we were introduced to them was on Winter House when like Craig was an
Yeah.
absolute disaster and we are like, dear God. And I do think that Paige really did help him like
Yeah.
come into this new Craig era and
Totally.
he is
I think she
glowing.
rehabilitated his image like so much. Like this might be a slightly unpopular opinion based on the comments that we got last episode, but like he really was a disaster that like not the first season of Winter House because they like weren't together yet, but the second season of Winter House they're together. She's chosen him over Andrea, and like the
We were
number of
like, what did
people
you
that were
do?
like, yeah, exactly, like what were you thinking? You chose this guy over Andrea, and then they're talking about like Andrea being like this is Italian stallion, whatever, like bringing you coffee, like he was so perfect, and
Yeah.
Craig was like the consolation prize almost like the worst choice.
Yeah.
And then we've seen him kind of like grow up and change over the last few years into this person that we now all kind of adore, and we find him like adorkable, but it's it's not like I don't know. I just think it's so annoying that like she made him the person that he is, and now we hate her. It's like it's just I hate it here.
It's so strange and it's also just kind of like babying Craig. Like
Right?
Craig is a
So
big boy
infantilizing.
and
Yeah.
like and
He's a 35-year-old man.
he's gonna be better off. Like he has made so many changes to himself and like we have to give him credit. Like obviously
Hmm.
like he did this. Like
Yeah.
maybe Paige was like the starting point and he's mentioned before that he wanted to curb his drinking because he wanted to be a better partner to her. But like whoever he finds next, like it's gonna be a better like it's gonna be better for both of them. And like
Yeah.
we love Craig. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
especially I'm rewatching Southern Charm, like you can't help but to love Craig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Love him even when you hate him.
yeah, like he's been through his ups and downs, but like even now, like when I'm watching Southern Charm, like I'm feeling so defensive about Craig when like the other
Yeah.
boys are like
Ganging up on him.
ganging up on him. Like I'm
Yeah.
so frustrated about that.
Totally.
You can feel bad for both the people in the relationship and you can,
Hmm.
like I feel like you don't have to demonize one of them.
No, definitely not. Especially because Paige will come for you.
Yeah.
So be careful, guys. Be careful. Uh,
Yeah, I really hope it doesn't turn nasty. Like
yeah.
I really hope that they continue, to be amicable and
Yeah.
you can see that Paige is clearly more accepting of it at this point in time than
Yeah.
Craig is. Like
Yeah.
even on Giggly Squad, like you could tell just like the confidence that she has, the knowing that this was the right decision. And
Hmm.
I still do think it must have been so incredibly hard because like there was no smoking gun. Like she even said like
No.
she said that Craig was also responsible for making her a better person and he was the best boyfriend that she ever had and like,
Hmm.
you know, I think she only looks at this fondly. I do also feel bad though, just because like Craig, we said this last episode, but like
Yeah.
Craig just wants that happy ending. Like he just wants
Yeah.
that white picket fence, and you can see it in
Yeah.
Southern Charm now. And like he's so happy to just be in his little bubble with his girlfriend and like, have his garden and his beautiful
Yeah.
pool. And like that's just
Yeah.
what he wants. And like I feel like this must have really like that's hard when you feel like you have it and you're like,
Yeah.
I've built this and I'm in this place. And
Yeah, I
even if
finally made it. I found my
yeah,
person. I found my thing. Like I'm here. I'm establishing myself. Like I've done all the things I want to do. And he does say he's like the big rom-com guy, right? And he like even
yeah,
envisions like that if he passed away, his sperm would go to her and she'd have his baby no matter
yeah,
what. Like, like he wants that kind of like big like romantic life. And he's gonna find the person that also wants that, right? Like that person is
yeah,
100% out there. Like it's just a matter of time.
yeah.
Uh,
I wonder if Naomi will come back.
I don't know. So the thing is, like, I feel like I see so many similarities between Naomi and Paige, like he goes for very like
Ambitious.
strong-willed,
Yeah,
ambitious,
it's
like
true.
women who do not let him like rest on his laurels, women who do not like just kind of like let him be like whatever version of Craig that he is in the moment. Like they have both kind of like shaped who he is, and the Naomi seasons are a little hard to watch because they're both a little bit more outwardly abusive, I think, to each other. Um, but uh, but yeah, like he's looking for a spunky woman, and I'm sure she's out there, and I'm sure that there's a spunky woman out there that will challenge him, but also still want the things that he wants, and
Yeah.
already live in Charleston. I'm sure.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's not hard, or will be willing to move to Charleston.
Yeah. No, that's
Like
it.
what was her name? Ashley. Thomas Ravenel.
Oh, oh God. No, no, not Ashley. We
Women,
don't
women will move to Charleston for this TV show,
we
guys.
don't
It's not hard.
we don't want that for him.
Okay,
Um, yeah.
very fair.
So honestly, we just wish both of them the best, and
Yeah,
it will be interesting. It's gonna be sad. We're gonna have to continue to see their relationship on Southern Charm, and then we're gonna see the cracks in it on Summer House.
yeah,
So it's gonna be interesting.
yeah. We got a long way to go, guys, before this story is over.
Yeah, and then we are gonna look back at it with revisionist glasses as well. So let's all
Of
just
course. Let's just
yeah.
be prepared. Let's all be nice to each other. Let's all be
Yeah,
civil.
yeah,
Let's all be
exactly.
smart with the critical lens.
Speaking of critical,
Yes, you're
um,
critical.
Shep and Austen are
Austin.
being very critical of Craig. I don't
Yeah.
understand how this season became everyone hates Craig, or like
That's what every season is.
it's always okay. There was a part in episode 3 that got me so frustrated, which was just
Yeah.
like when they were out for Miss Pat's birthday and Craig
Yes.
wasn't invited.
Yeah.
And Shep and Whitney and Austin are pretty much just like riding on Craig on how he like
Mhm.
doesn't hang out anymore and he just
Yeah.
wants to be at home and like garden and he's like a businessman. And I think Shep's like, oh, like he's not, he's just like a front for it. Like he doesn't even do it. Like it's more like
Yeah.
this other guy who does it. And it's like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You're saying that both he's too much business, he's like businessing too hard, but also he's not even businessing because he's just the face of it. And like,
He's
I
just
just,
showing up, like taking the photo for Instagram and then going
yeah.
home.
And it's
Like,
also like, you can't help but flash back to the seasons earlier on when they're like, you have to get your stuff together. You can't just come out and party all night. Like, which
hmm
is true.
Oh,
It was
100%.
that was fair at the time.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
now they're like, you can't just work all the time. You have to party as well.
You have to come see us. You have to be social. If you want to come to Miss Pat's birthday party, you have to hang out with Miss Pat. Like, come on. Yeah, I know. I know. I was so annoyed at that moment too, especially kind of when Whitney started chiming in because like Whitney very much was kind of coming from it like, oh, he doesn't hang out with us. He doesn't see us. We don't see him. And it's like you guys just will never be happy with what Craig is or is not doing. Like he can never win with
Never.
any of you. And yeah, like I think like there is like a class aspect to it too, right? Like well, Austin's not the wealthiest, but he like comes from a well-off family. Shep and Whitney obviously come from well-off families. Whitney now owns a $15 million house in the middle of Charleston because he bought it from his mom now so that he doesn't have to inherit it later. Like,
Yeah.
you know, these people's lives are completely different than Craig's life. Like Craig does not probably have a $15 million mansion that he has to buy now so he doesn't have to pay taxes on it later. Like
Yeah.
he's got a more normal life like the rest of us. He's just, an upscale version of it. But he has to work for a living and do the things that the rest of us have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
it's really frustrating to
there's
hear
no winning.
them talking about that. Yeah, it's like I
Yeah,
feel and it always happens. It's like they know how privileged they are and they know how they come off and I just like they
yeah.
just never are able to get that under wraps.
No. I don't know if
Like
they do though. Like I don't think that they get it. Like I don't think they see like maybe I don't know if it's like the hypocrisy or kind of like why they can never be happy with him, like, or maybe it's just for the storyline and they just need to be able to like talk about something and I don't
maybe.
maybe it's not about any of this at all. They just need to be able to like complain about somebody and Craig's the easiest target.
I
So,
mean, I could see Shep just wanting to like not have any of it on him. That's okay.
right.
I'm frustrated that Shep behaved so horribly,
Yeah.
last season and like
Yeah.
that's all just gotten totally brushed under the rug, and he went to
Yeah.
ayahuasca and he's great now, and
Yeah, he's
now we're
fine.
just going to talk about how Craig doesn't want to go drinking.
Yeah. And like the only person right now on the cast who's like really mad at Shep is Taylor. And like I don't even know if Taylor's like the most justified for being mad at Shep, but like
Right?
but she's the only person that like is like kind of even a little bit like making his life uncomfortable. But like Austen and Craig like we're kind of like, oh okay, I guess like whatever, like we're not gonna pursue that anymore. So
We've all just like
it's
kind of
done.
moved past it, I guess. And like
Yeah.
Shep even basically like not blamed fully, but he was like, "Oh, like I, was in a really bad spot and I did this. I was out of control at BravoCon and then you guys, didn't help me and I thought we were friends and like
Right.
you should
Yeah.
have helped me and you should have been
Yeah.
there."
Yeah. You guys are responsible for my blackouts at BravoCon.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I just don't understand how this is clearly going to be what the season is. And it's
Yeah.
just like, how did we
Yeah.
get here?
How did we get here? And the fact that like it's actually kind of upsetting to see the fact that it is like impacting Austin and Craig's relationship, right? Like they kind of, and I think this is often what happens on these Bravo shows, that they have kind of these conversations. So like Austin goes over to Craig's house to talk about their relationship, and Austin's kind of talking about it from his perspective and Craig is talking about it from his perspective, but like they do kind of feel like they're just like on different wavelengths and kind of like talking about different things, and it ultimately like ends up in this kind of like blow up, well, little like minimal blow up fight, but like blow up fight where Austin basically ends up walking away and then doesn't get invited to Craig's party the next week. And you're just like, this is always the thing that happens in these Bravo shows, is that like ultimately friendships really do get ruined because of this kind of like little, I don't know, misunderstanding, like these like
Yeah.
little things where like they're a little bit off kilter from like having you think you're on the same wavelength, but you're not. You're Carol and Bethany thinking that you're having the same conversation, but you're having two different conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. And then and then you don't get to like film things as well, which I think is an additional
Yeah.
layer that comes in too. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's interesting. And they also have like a podcast together
Hmm.
and it I can't really figure out who's in the right or who's in the wrong, and I don't know if anyone
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think I get a little over defensive for some reason, like protecting Craig.
Yeah.
Um, just because I do truly feel like he is trying to better himself and like he's
Right.
just growing and he's not their drinking buddy anymore. And I do
Yeah.
think that part of it truly is that
Right.
because they do talk at a podcast twice a week and like yeah, I guess Austin's like, oh, it just feels like work and it doesn't feel like friendship anymore, but
Hmm.
like I do think that they're just very used to having one version of Craig and he's kind of changing and I don't know if they're like happy with that change.
Yeah. Well, and also like Craig is kind of like setting the boundaries of like, hey, like we can see each other, but like I'm not gonna go out to King Street. I'm gonna come, like I'm gonna have you guys come over here. And like that's my preferred way. Like you're welcome to come over. I have built this beautiful house for us. Like come hang out here, come swimming, come hang out at the hot tub, come do a barbecue. Like
Yeah.
this is where I'll be. I'm here whenever you want to hang out. Um, and Austin's like, I'm just not, I don't call you for lunch. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Who is
okay.
who was it Shep or was it Whitney who was like, "Oh, he was more fun when he was drinking bourbon or something." Like
Oh, I missed that. I don't
it was
know.
during like Miss Pat's like dinner.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
feel like it was probably like a Shep comment. That feels like something
right.
he would kind of say. Yeah.
Even Madison stuck up for him. Madison's like
Yeah.
he's just trying to be a better person and like maybe he doesn't feel like his new self can be around you
Matches.
guys. Like
Yeah. Or at least it, like even wants to be a like okay, this is my little anecdote for the week. But like I went out to a New Year's Eve party on New Year's Eve as one does. Um and like, I had 2 to 3 glasses of champagne, but like I was like surrounded by people, old ball and chain back here included, who got like super drunk, and I
Oh
was just like, like I'm bored. I'm out of here. Like I don't want to be here. And like I totally get why Craig would be like, yeah, it's not super fun to be like the sober guy at the party where everybody's hanging out and everybody's like really drunk, and then you like start having a conversation with a drunk person, and you're like, oh wow, now I'm stuck in this conversation. How do I get out of this? Like, actually, I don't
totally.
want to talk to this person at all, because you're just like, yeah. So I can really empathize with Craig for that. I can also empathize with Austin for like not feeling like he has the friendship that he had with this person and but
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel that too. Like I am not the person I was when I was in like my late 20s.
No.
You you
And
do
that's
grow past and that's okay. Like that's I feel
normal
like and
to a degree.
maybe it's a little bit too of this arrested development of like people in Bravo that like the premise of
Yeah.
your show is to an extent you guys going out and partying and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
Well, and this show in particular, right? Like this is the show where at 35, Shep was saying he didn't want to be like Thomas and Whitney, chasing girls in their 20s. And now Shep is, 10 years
literally that.
later, he's like on his way to being Whitney and Thomas who are chasing girls in their 20s. And like his girlfriend's like what, 19? Sienna?
What? Is she 19?
I thought,
No,
well,
please no.
okay, maybe not.
But
I thought
like
it feels she feels like she's in that like
she's for sure in
19 to
her like
23
20
range.
something.
Like
Oi.
she's not over that. She's younger than Taylor, or at least I remember that. If you remember, put it in the comments, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Austin even kind of feels like he's like starting to get into that territory of,
Yeah, his
he's gonna
girlfriend looks
be
real young as
girlfriend's
well.
very young and he's like gonna be the guy that like if you're still partying on King Street, you're gonna be like hooking up with these like young 20 something girls and you just don't get past that. Like even Whitney is 56 and still
I
can't
can't
settle down and
I can't believe Whitney is
can't
56. I am so distraught.
he can't settle down with a 36-year-old Molly who's like
Yeah,
ready to
she's too
have
old for
children and she's
him.
like too old. You're just like 20 years younger. Like it's just yeah.
It is it is a different world that they live
And
in.
yeah.
It's very interesting. I do
And
hope
Craig
that
doesn't
this
want that, well, doesn't want that, right? Like he's not doing that. Like
yeah.
he's dating a age appropriate girlfriend who wants to settle down, even though she wasn't ready at this point. Like ultimately, that's what she did want to. Yeah. Anyways.
I do hope that this doesn't like change his outlook on things. Like I hope that it
Mm,
doesn't send him back to the crazy partying Greg. I don't think it will. I think that this truly is who he is now.
yeah.
I mean, to an extent. And like, yeah, I do think that there's probably a little bit of truth in him maybe not putting in enough effort into his friendships. Because even like Rod was saying, I get it, you've built this little like bubble for yourself, but like sometimes you
Right.
have to go outside of it and sometimes you have to make concessions for the friendship. So
Hmm.
I don't take what Austin and Shep say all that seriously, but I think if other people in the group who
Yeah.
are like a little bit more level-headed are
Hmm.
also saying it, then like sure,
Yeah.
there's probably some truth
Truth
to
to it.
this.
For sure. Well, and even the like not getting invited to Miss Patricia's like birthday dinner, right? Like that was a birthday dinner specifically for the show. Yeah, some of her friends showed up too, but like it was for the show. And ultimately, if your job is the show, you do kind of have to engage in social situations where you're gonna at least see the people that are on your
Hmm.
show, right? Like that's how you do it. You get to be in the scenes if you actually show up to the things.
It's true.
It's a give and take. That's why JT is hardly in these episodes.
Oh my God, I was gonna say, dude, he's already not in any of the episodes. Do
He's
you think they're like
already
proactively
phased
cutting
out.
him out because he like quit,
No,
or was he
well,
just never in the
I
episode?
think he was probably like never in the episodes because he's like already, yeah, like he's hardly in anything. He's not getting invited to things because he pissed people off in the first episode. Like the first event
Oh
of the season that got
man.
filmed, he made a little social faux pas.
He's
And then
truly
Craig
not
started a
in
rumor
it.
about him. So yeah, we'll see.
They
But he's reaching out to Craig. He's gonna get coffee with Craig. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he literally showed up for Madison to just like destroy him. Like,
Yes. Oh dear. Never want to be on the other side of that, that's for sure.
yeah, actually, speaking of Madison, she has some
Yeah.
really real and difficult things going on in her life. You just like,
Yeah.
man, you just feel so bad for her. So you essentially find out that her husband had been diagnosed with cancer, right?
Hmm.
And now they might have also found another tumor,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah,
don't
like a
know what it
new
is.
strain. Yeah.
She's been going through that. And then you also just find out that her father had just passed away in the past year of cancer. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like
Right.
it's so much for
Yeah,
her to
it's
be
so
dealing with.
much. It's so much and like she like was planning on starting a family, like she was planning on, well, like starting a family, continuing to have a family with this person, and like to have to put everything and to think that you're in the clear, and then like to have it pop up back again. They're just like,
It's
when will it
also
end?
it's also crazy because like her and her husband are so young. Like
Yeah.
it's just not something that you would think would happen.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's wild. And that's this is the thing about Bravo is like yes, there's like there's all like in the same episode there's like boys fighting over, drinking
Nothing.
buddies or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's like this really real raw moment of like,
Yeah.
Madison on the phone with her mom telling her
Yeah.
what's happening. It's just like
Yeah.
there are real moments in this that are balanced and it's just like it's yeah.
It is. It's crazy. And yeah, you obviously feel for Madison for just like having to go through kind of like all of this and her with like Brett and everything. Like it's a lot. So
Yeah.
hopefully, throughout the season we'll get like more information and we'll be able to kind of get like, better news as well. But
Yeah.
it's
Hopefully
rough.
everything turns out okay.
Yeah.
Another person I think that is talked about a lot in this episode is kind of Taylor and
Yeah.
her boyfriend Gaston, who
Yes.
I'm sorry, he's not really here to defend himself, so I guess there's only
No.
so much we could say, but like
Yeah.
it's not looking great.
It's not looking good. It's not looking great. And it's also, I don't know, like this guy, like this is who we're
It's like you
fighting
went
over,
from
girls.
chef to
Come
this
on.
dude. Like,
Yeah.
we're not doing that. Did we learn?
Well, part of me also kind of like I think I understood it a little bit more to find out that he was kind of around when like her brother passed. Because I
It's
could kind of be
true.
like,
It's
okay, like this
true.
was your person of like comfort in the moment that like was probably like one of the hardest things that you've gone through in your life. Um, but I do like, I don't know, am I just getting like skeezy vibes because like that's what we're being told, or am I getting skeezy vibes because that's kind of what he is?
I
Like,
know. Well, that's what's hard when they're not on the show to like
yeah, to
show
really like,
themselves to us, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. But even the fact that like he like doesn't want to be like around seems suspicious. Like, I don't know,
Yeah, it's I don't know, and I really hope that he's not what he's being put out to
portrayed
be because
as,
like
yeah,
I feel like Taylor just like but he very well could be because I feel like Taylor is just so like last season we saw her just be so lost and then she
yeah,
also on top of that had the loss of her brother which is just unimaginable
hmm,
and maybe she's just clinging on to this as like something to hold on to because she
yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah, and I do wonder like how much of a reliable narrator Sally
Salley
is.
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna try to take everything that she says a little bit with a grain of salt until we get kind of like real accurate things. Like I didn't get like the best reading of her on Southern Hospitality last year. Um, and then also just like kind of like now, kind of like just it feels like the stories that she's telling are kind of like convenient. She's like, oh, like me and Gaston and Taylor and Gaston kind of overlapped, but like, did you overlap or was it that you were with him at the beginning of July and she was with him at the end of July? Like, is
Right.
there an overlap? Is there not an overlap? Are you portraying there to be an overlap because you want that to be kind of like a salacious detail? Like, like I guess we're gonna have to, wade our way in slowly with this one.
It's true. And my tendency is just to be like, I feel like Taylor's so quick to also believe Gaston over Sally,
Yeah.
but yeah, we really don't know either of them. So
No.
it's hard to know who's telling the truth here and like
Yeah.
what the scenario actually is.
Yeah. And what's the thirst level of this person coming on this show and being like, hey, I have a good storyline to tell you. I'll throw a wrench in Taylor and Gaston's plans and
And it's
make me a
true.
series regular.
It's true.
Gotta be
Uh,
wise out there, guys.
Yeah, so lots happening. I'm enjoying the
Hmm.
season so far though. I'm
Ah,
excited
yeah.
for it.
I'm loving the season so far. I feel like I'm just so happy we're in such a good place with so many of our Bravo shows
So
right
many.
now
Okay,
already.
Salt Lake City
Yeah.
has been so amazing. I
So
finally was able
good.
to binge it over the
Yay.
holidays. I
Catch
want to
up.
do a retrospective episode on Salt Lake City.
Cool. I love that. Amazing. We can do that around the reunion. It's coming up in like the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also, really quick, want to rapid fire. Southern Hospitality had the first two
Yes.
episodes. I've only watched the premiere.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Same.
I've just like lowered my standards or like not lowered my standards, but lowered my expectations so much. Like
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. I think
Yeah.
it's messy.
I feel like I'm the other side of the coin where I'm
No.
just like, we're talking about this again. Like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'll give it some time. I'll let it kind of simmer, but
I do feel like
just
there's
not
like,
there.
yeah, no, it's fair. But this is the thing, like I put it on as like whatever. Like I'm not super
Yeah.
invested in it.
Yeah.
I'll watch it, it's fun.
Yeah.
Um, but the people are so toxic.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
there's like real problems going on.
Yeah. And I think as long as you have somebody kind of like in the nicest way possible, as delusional as Emmy and, as willing to lie as Will, like, which is, I guess, lets you know where I think I stand on those issues. Um, you will always have TV, right? Like those things will always, like the storylines will kind of always tell itself. But I don't know. Like I think the problem is that like a lot of people are like, do not sleep on Southern hospitality. It is so good this season. And I'm just like, I don't know. Do not sleep on Southern hospitality.
No. Well, this is the thing, is
Like,
like we're still not really invested in these people. Like I still don't
yeah,
care about them all that much. So I just kind of watch it to watch. Also, like
yeah.
the more it gets compared to VPR, the more we're gonna be like, no, that's just not true.
Yeah.
Take it for what it is.
Yeah. Let it be its own thing. And
Hmm.
that maybe that's just it. I don't know if it has like enough of like an identity yet. Like it's still missing a little
Yeah.
something.
Also, like Joe Bradley and what's her name being together, just like it
Weird.
feels fake.
I hate
And
it.
like, yeah, I don't know.
Him just being like, now I'm with my dream girl, and like
Oh
this
my
whole
God.
like
He's like,
two
dreams do come
seconds.
true. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, like stop
Yeah.
talking.
Like 2 seconds after like you were dating Danielle and then you hooked up with Luann and now you're dating Maddie. Yes,
Yeah, right,
Maddie.
Maddie.
Um, it's just I don't know.
Also,
We'll
Taylor
see.
was on Southern Hospitality the first like little bit. I watched like the first bit of this episode.
Episode? Yeah.
I almost feel like Taylor belongs more on Southern Hospitality than on Southern Charm.
Mm, maybe. Maybe. I guess, yeah. I don't know.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Oh, you know what's the weirdest part of Southern Hospitality? The fact that a
What?
21-year-old is the general manager.
Yeah, I know. He is very precocious. Good for him.
21? You're an
God,
actual baby.
couldn't be me. Actually, maybe I think I managed a ice cream or soda, no, soft serve shop. But I don't even know if I was 21 yet, like,
It's
or
just like,
21 at all. Like, I don't know
how
where
is
I
there a
stood in that.
21-year-old in like a leadership
In charge of your
position?
bar at your
It's
club,
so
like,
weird.
it's
I'm
kind of
like, is
crazy.
this a normal thing?
I don't think so. I think even like them kind of like setting it up as like special was an indicator that it's not normal, but
Yeah. So
they're
it's
gonna,
interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Let us know your thoughts on Southern Charm, on the Paige and
yeah,
Craig
yeah.
breakup. Hopefully we didn't insult
Offend anybody.
anyone.
Sorry. Mea culpa.
And yeah, I'll see you next week.
Yeah.